Matters came to a head in the early 2000s, a period Ghana was neck-deep in the situation. Attempts to solve it was mired in controversy. The causes were at full play, and what came as ad hoc measures predictably drew a blank. Kwabena mirrored the frustrating process. Residents of the community had refused to host and bear the brunt of Accra's Plan B solution. Led by a school's headmaster, the people mounted a serious opposition to a landfill. They said they drink from boreholes and fear toxin from waste material in the landfill could seep into the water table. And so even as the garbage was collected somehow, there were no places to dump them. Refuse piled up on the streets at a rate the pulse of waste collectors could not match. The nation's capital, Accra, was the main puzzle. Expansion in range of human activities has increased the volume of waste generated. Garbage pushed into sacks virtually sit on the streets. Garbage sits next to food vendors in so-called markets. Drainage systems meant to give free passage to running waters have rather become receptacles for solid waste. As the gutters are clogged, rainwater pushes waste material to the surface, not to talk about the flooding it causes. People wait for the torrential rains to empty their pan latrines into the tide, which eventually find their way into people's compounds downstream. The Odo Water Channel, part of the Kole Lagoon Ecological Restoration Project, remains polluted. Even the beaches are not spared by the onslaught. Heaps of emptied plastic bottles do not just remind you of the abuse visited on a resource others jealously maintain to attract tourists. Droppings of stray animals could be negligible in the waste profile, but then we will tell you pretty soon how cow dung, for instance, is being put to good use on the back of innovation. Expiration, decay, and even changing fashion will mean that nearly the total number of physical goods in vogue today will be discarded some day to come. The common thread binding all the factors enumerated and others is attitude of people, a culture of impunity directed at the environment, the consequences of which overwhelmed the authorities. Not to reinvent the wheel, Zoomlion came onto the scene in 2006 to help. A scene in 2016 in which top national figures joined Zoomlion to celebrate the difference made by the company 10 years after its intervention in waste management in Ghana.
Those who chose or composed the anthem of this country and the pledge said that God bless our homeland Ghana. And that is one of the motivations that as a country and as a people, we must almost always remind ourselves of that this country is God's own. We must love this country. This is our only country that we have, the only country that we're born in.
Out of the bankroll of the company's chief executive, Dr. Joseph Sian Ejapon, came a Zoomlion with an elaborate, strategic and multiple response to Ghana's sanitation problems. Collection, haulage, its own landfills, garbage separation, scientific treatment of waste, waste into wealth from recycling, job creation, a training institute and a presence in at least 7 African countries, straddling West, Central and South of Africa. Out of Zoomlion's story are the issues which laymen and authorities talk about. As Ghana's biggest waste collector, the company has presence in all regional and district capitals. This is Koforidua, capital of the Eastern region. Streets are relatively clean, but that represents the effort of Zoomlion. Sanitary workers point at some issues. In front of a shop stood waste bins which were full. The company is not registered with Zoomlion, so it is out of its coverage. If the shop is not registered with another waste collector, chances are that the refuse may not be properly disposed. Still in Koforidua, gutters slabs have been removed at some places. No wonder the gutters are choked. It is revealed that there are no access routes to some of the places where waste must be collected. This gentleman may be doing the right thing by driving all the way from home to a Zoomlion container to deposit trash. Reports say others, under the cover of darkness, throw refuse at the containers from a distance, and thus scatters the refuse on the ground. In all these, waste collectors say they come up against derogatory terms.
Container di border gum. Na sa container no omo mfa border ni muntu unya kokape.
People are supposed to place garbage in waste containers at designated points. They don't do that. If you speak about their behavior too, it turns into quarrel. The public don't respect sanitary workers.
If you dare tell somebody that it is wrong to litter around, the person will retort and tell you that there will be no job for you if the garbage is not scattered around. So by the time you return to the place you just collected garbage, the garbage is back in just minutes. People put their trash in their cars and drive all the way from home and put the trash along the road.
It is when garbage grows into mountains or the public comes under the full weight of garbage that a searchlight is thrown back at the causes, which are often not far-fetched. Some examples of how unsightly conditions or stench reminded the public about the urgent need for the sanitary worker and attitudinal change.
The residents say they have endured the stench from the hospital's mortuary as well as the KVIP in the area for years now.
In May 2017, a pungent smell coming from a mortuary waste at Kwendrum, a suburb of Winneba in Central Region, saw people making a distress call.
The stench from this gutter is bad, and we are all not happy about it at all.
There's this lady who works with the health personally, and then with someone we have been to her several times. We went, oh yes, we'll do a bit about it, and that was the end of it.
Similarly, filth which have become too visible for the eye to miss at Kaneshi and Madina markets drew public complaints.
A major phenomenon that has been a cause for concern is the tons of waste generated by the sprawling markets that are left uncollected. The women sell under unsanitary conditions because a refuse container sited in the middle of the market, which serves the market as well as residents around the market, overflows to the ground.
Filth and stench are killing us in this market. The market is no more attractive. People don't come here to buy anymore.
Environmental issues are sticking problems in Ghana. Awards won by Ghana in media competitions organized by CNN are dominated by environmental topics. In 2002, it was air pollution from vehicle exhaust fumes. In 2014, it was the hassle people go through due to absence of public toilets. In 2015, it was about the dangers of e-waste in a deprived community. So what has Zoomlion been clearing, and what problem does it seek to cure? General waste, fecal, metal, plastics, food items. Broadly, they are either organic or inorganic waste. About 1/3 of Ghana's population practice open defecation. Fecal matter is implicated in the global disease burden and deaths. Official figures put diarrhea deaths among children in Ghana at an annual average of 7,500. The general waste is particularly hazardous when industrial waste are added to the waste stream. Zoomlion subsidiaries such as Universal Plastic Products and Recycling Plant UPPR and Yoko Plastics recycle hard plastics and light plastic materials as water sachets and polythenes into either waste bins or carrier bags. In the general waste pool is human excreta, considered by UNICEF as the greatest challenge for Ghana. Under a project called Zoom Cabins, Zoomlion has introduced mobile toilets for events and domestic users to curtail open defecation. The Mudor and Sewage Systems Ghana Limited at Kolegon or Accra also receives over 200 liquid waste trucks on a daily basis for processing, and that has stopped the use of seashores as tipping point. Electronic waste. E-waste contains mercury, lead and cadmium, all dangerous to humans. especially when burned or recycled in an uncontrolled environment. Given the high toxicity of pollutants in e-waste, their disposal requires a scientific procedure. This said, it must be noted that e-waste also contains valuable material as gold, reusable in the industrial cycle. Professor Chris Gordon of the University of Ghana bemoans what appears to be a wholesale exportation of electronic waste collected in Ghana. Zoomlion's response to the void in e-waste management is encapsulated in the remarks by Dr. George Roxon, a lead researcher of Zoomlion.
Zoomlion, since 2014, has been working closely with different stakeholders to see how we could help in solving e-waste challenges. Our first attempt has been with the collection and storage of e-waste material. Although we did not announce our active operation in that area, we quietly kept stocking material against a period when we knew that the act or policy will be activated to ensure that we are effective in our role and our responsibility. Just to mention a few, I could say that we've received materials from the WHO, the GIZ, and the other companies. And as part of our research work, we've been looking into this material and its composition and how we could gain value from it and what are the environmental impacts that we will need to take care of.
Medical waste. From hospitals, veterinary clinics, medical laboratories, and research facilities are waste items such as used gloves, syringes, needles, bloody bandages, swabs, and liquid waste. HIV/AIDS, hepatitis, and cancer are some of the fatal ailments one might contract from contact with medical waste. A toxin like mercury is spread through skin contact with medical waste. One study reveals that hepatitis C is spreading rapidly among garbage pickers and scavengers. The only medical waste treatment facility in Ghana is located at Zoom Park in Teshin, Accra. On a scale of 1 to 10, it could be pegged at 3 in terms of the proportion of medical waste treated at the plant in relation to the entire volume of medical waste generated in the country. It is because only 40 out of the 375 medical facilities have made it a point to treat their waste at the medical waste plant. This means hazardous medical waste might be slipping into our communities. Petroleum waste. Should any of the oil and gas pipes burst, it will present a new challenge to Ghana. Removing spilled oil from the environment is a difficult task. One of the world's worst spills stood in the name of BP oil in 2010, when undersea pipelines ruptured in the Gulf of Mexico and wreaked havoc on coastal ecosystems and marine life. Once the seafood chain is poisoned by oil and chemicals, it could well end up on your dining table. Zoomlion has positioned itself in readiness for this while it assembles operational waste for treatment. A subsidiary of Zoomlion, the Zoil Services Limited, located on the outskirts of Sekondi Takoradi in the western region of Ghana, is a 5-ton capacity plant that treats waste generated by mines and petroleum industries. The plant treats the oil mud sludge while its exterior activities handle land and beaches contaminated with oil. The oil companies in the enclave have other agreements with foreign companies to deal with any spillage which might occur in deep offshore waters.
The government has also set up a plan for oil companies to follow, right? And before any oil company starts drilling offshore, they are allowed to come up with the contingency plan, emergency response plan, and so on. So on their own, they've made plans to cater for any eventuality when there's a major spill. So that is it. Some companies have some equipment. For example, Talo has some equipment at the Takoradi Harbour, which we are aware of. Some have also contracted foreign companies that are able to will be able to respond in case there's a spill. As far as drilling waste is concerned, nothing goes to the landfill. What goes to the landfill normally will be waste that cannot be processed through these conventional means. So we're talking about through the thermal desorption, incineration, and the water treatment, right? So if we have a certain waste that cannot be treated by those methods, then what we'll do is I will stabilize.
Provost of the College of Health of the University of Ghana Medical School, Professor Ayekumi, tracks events. He points page 49 of May 15, 2017 edition of the Daily Graphic newspaper of Ghana. Specifically, his attention was drawn to a photo work exposing open defecation in a free range by a group of men.
Everywhere is choked with some kind of filth or another, and it affects the young ones, it affects the old ones. There are parasitic diseases, there are bacterial diseases. You talk about diarrhea, for example. You talk about outbreak of cholera in our environment, which is very common with us. Every year there is an outbreak of cholera in one area or another. These are issues that we have to really deal with. We have issues to do with transmission of other, diseases, because these wastes provide, some kind of breeding sites for flies. We're talking about flies like mosquitoes, we're talking about flies like house flies. And these are, organisms that help in the transmission of some of these parasitic or bacteria or viral organisms that we have in the environment.
Zoomlion has negotiated for land from the traditional rulers to operate a functional landfill to serve Accra. Inhalation of smoke when toxic material is burnt is a recipe for disaster. Medical checks reveal related health issues among residents of Agbogbloshie, where burning of any kind of waste material is a pastime. A major difference being made by the private waste collectors is meticulous disposal of waste. Trash is not left to their own devices. They are committed to scientific treatment, such that hazardous wastes are discharged in controlled environment. Plastics are recycled and organic matter are turned into manure. One of Ghana's brains in environmental science is Professor Chris Gordon. Professor Gordon is one of the experts government commissioned in 2008 to establish the Institute for Environmental and Sanitation Studies at University of Ghana. Professor Gordon calls waste a material in transition.
Just as people are seeing the soil as a source of gold, there's actually more gold in e-waste than in the soil. That is why the Malaysians and the people from Southeast Asia come and collect containers of dismantled e-waste from Ghana and go and refine and take out the precious and rare earths in their country.
In all the moves, the main roadmap is unfurled before all by the United Nations. Water and sanitation are Goal 6 on the Millennium and Sustainable Development Goals, an area Ghana has not fared too well.
Of all the MDGs, that was the worst performing. So we are the worst, in amongst the worst, unfortunately, of the worst. So it's hard to get away from any challenging language around that. I think in terms of waste management, there's also issues, but for me, the real challenge that really cuts through everything else is how we manage our liquid waste at the household level. That's where the real health risks are to the children. And every year in Ghana, 3,600 children die just from simple diarrhea. We need the private sector to leverage that, to come with products, to come with services, to actually identify solutions in partnership with government or unilaterally.
In 2016, environmental sanitation was the conference theme of the Ghana Science Association as the subject built up the atmosphere. The city of Accra gets a new mayor after political power changed hands. His initial action was directed at sanitation, as he issued a statement appealing to all to help make Accra the cleanest city in Africa as advocated by the president.
I was at the National Sanitation Day this Saturday, and we've mobilized volunteers from Accra and our staff to a community around La Paz area, trying to clean the environment and also desilting the drains. The community people were unconcerned. They have opened their shops, and people were just looking at us as if we are from a different planet and we've come to Accra. I was so upset with it, and I went to a few of the shops and I cautioned them. I realized that the interest is waning, but it's mainly because of an attitude. I have come to your shop and I'm clearing the refuse in front of your shop. So my position is that going forward, on the National Sanitation Day, which will intend to continue, the focus is going to change. The focus is going to be on inspection and enforcement of the bylaws. I want to take this opportunity also to commend the environmental service and providers who have been so helpful to us.
At every stage of the process, Zoomlion weighs in, and for persistently whittling away heaps of garbage, many call the company the giant decimators. For the progress Ghana has made thus far, the UN empaneled Ghana and Norway as co-chair of an eminent group to champion the Sustainable Development Goals. That recognition is a testament that the grey areas are gradually being shaded. The company doing some of the hard lifting for results is Zoomlion.